So we're going to be going over some of tonight's training is going to be really a lot for experienced guys, but I think it'll help guys get in the job, just help see the process of the sell. But we're going to be mostly going over overcoming objections, which is really the meat of what we do to get people to listen to and buy. I want to talk first, breaking down some of the objections, though, because the first objections you have to overcome that I want to talk about for a second is your own objections that you tell yourself, whether you're going to do the job or not. There's a lot of things objections that come up, just saying, hey, am I really going to leave my home and go 10 states over and sacrifice being away from family and do this hard job, right? So that's the first objection overcome, and say, hey, am I going to sacrifice to go do this? I think a lot of the guys on this call know they're going to do that. There's some guys on the call, they're still like, hey, am I actually going to make that sacrifice? Once you get there, you're going to end up going out the first day in area, and there's going to be objections you tell yourself. You're going to see somebody cutting their grass. I'm like, am I really going to go try to talk? Do I really believe I can go sell that person? There's going to be somebody pulling out their driveway. Do I really think I can sell this person? You're going to knock on a door and someone's going to come over a doorbell camera. You're like, man, this person has cameras ready and they're just talking to me over their camera. Can I really sell this person? The first objections you guys overcome is just telling yourself yes when even you don't believe you can. I think that's the only way you really get anywhere. Is there's going to be a lot of places you just don't believe you can do, or things where you can get, and you just have to tell yourself you can. And those times will be the times you remember. Like, I remember every time someone said, hey, I can't come to the door. I was like, well, just come open your window and I'll talk you through the window. And they actually do it. And I'll like talk to them through the screen, and I'm signing their contract through the screen or their window. Or I can't do this today because my husband's gone, and I get their husband on the phone and we talk it over, and it's been something they wanted to do, and then they do it. Right. So if you can't, the point of me saying that is, if you can't overcome the objections you tell yourself, you're not going to be able to overcome the objections that other people tell you. And I think that's one of the most mentally powerful things you can do in the job to grow as a person. So I'm going to give an introduction, though, to myself, I guess, before I go on the rest of the training. That was just kind of an intro of what we're going to do tonight, is go over objections one at a time and the ones you run into. So I started the job 15 plus years ago. Just like all you guys, I took a leap of faith and said, hey, I'm going to go and do this. I have 10 brothers and sisters. I had seen them all get married and start their lives broke. And I decided, hey, I want to make sure that when I get married, I'm not broke. And within my first few years of doing the job, I made enough to pay off my cars and my first house. And it was a dream come true for me. So I did 300 accounts for 7 years in a row. The last year I did that was 2019. So it's not like it's been a while ago. But the last 5 years I've still done a decent amount of accounts. But in the room, each of these guys sitting around me, all 200 account reps. So in a summer, you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You've got over 1,000 accounts in a summer sitting right in front of you. So any questions that you have, you can ask, and we'll be able to know the answer to. So, any other question? I mean, everybody knows managers in here, and then there's a bunch of managers on the call. So we'll probably won't get a bunch of feedback on this just because there's 70 of you on this phone call. So we'll just shoot through some of this. But if you do have questions, you can raise your hand, and I can see if you raise your hand, but you're also welcome to just ask as we go. And so, we'll get into process. So first thing, when you're getting into an area, if you guys haven't been on a blitz, you're going to get assigned an area and you'll learn to manage that area. The first thing that you'll do when you get in an area, your manager will drop you off and you're going to see some houses. My advice to you guys is we always like race to the first door, because as soon as you get into the neighborhood or the first person you see, one of the things you'll be is just nervous to talk to people when you first start. And even that seems to not go away. There's going to be people that you sell that you don't want to talk to, you know? And I would just be ready to sign people up as soon as you put your uniform on for the day. You might go and get some food before the meeting, and somebody, when you're sitting there at Popeyes, might be like, "Oh, we just moved in. You're the ADT guy." Like, be ready to sign people up as soon as you're in uniform. Um, Out of uniform, obviously, no, it's weird. But if you're in your uniform and someone's pulling out of their driveway, stop them, right? Hey, I've got to talk to you, right? Everybody you see, your percentage of people that you sign up, that you'll see just outside will always be more than the person you knock on the door. But you're just going to be telling yourself you don't want to talk to that person. So I'm going to go over a list of objections that I put down. So I feel like the number one objection we don't get over is just when you knock on the door first, someone's going to get you to say, "Hey, go away," right? Give me a card. I'm not interested in what you're doing. So I'm going to go over that. A lot of guys get that. And the reason that I wanted to do this training is I usually assign somebody else to go overcoming objections. I realized I haven't done a training in overcoming objections in a long time, because I don't get objections. I usually have had a way where I explain things that guys the best thing you can do is overcome the objections before they come up, right? So when I knock on a door, my process, and if Ron's on here, he's been wanting me to do a training on my process for a while. So I'll go over what I do, how I actually sell somebody, and everybody does it differently. But I'm going to go over what I do. So when I knock on a door, and they come to the door, I do some sort of preoccupation. And then which is something silly I do to get them to laugh. And I'll do a list of things. And once I do that, I say, "Hey, we're updating your neighbors. You're going to see a half a dozen techs working in your neighborhood. And why we're here, we're doing something different." What I've realized is they don't care what you're doing as much as they care about what's going on. So they want to know what's going on in their neighborhood. They want to just know what's going on. And I'm just going to explain to them, "Hey, what's going on?" And depending on the neighborhood and the person, I'll explain what's going on in different ways, right? So I'll explain advertising is one of them. I'll explain updates in their neighborhood. One that I do that's different that I've always done is I say there's a transition or a change that's happening in our industry, and that's why we're in your neighborhood. And I'll explain briefly what's going on. Years ago, it was when all the alarms were changing from the landline to through the internet. So I explained there's this change that's taking place, and everyone that has a system is going through an update. So we're doing an update with our customers. But why we're doing the update, and then I'll do the advertising pitch. I explain to them. Same with today. So every area in the country, there's regionally internet companies that do alarms like Suddenlink, Xfinity. We drove past, we're in Arizona, and there's a ton of Cox, which Jet was like that, or Trey was like, says, "I love selling Cox alarm," but then it's not actually Cox. It's a COX anyway. So, but it's an internet company that sells an alarm service, and their alarm goes through the internet line. So I'll explain to the customer one thing that I'll do. The majority of my sales, I don't do this, but if the neighborhood has over the years a lot of alarms in it, I'll say there's a transition in our industry. A decade ago, when everyone got rid of their home phone, alarms changed through the internet, and they've had problems with the internet being unreliable. So all these companies, they just have problems. If they cut the internet line, the alarm goes down when the internet goes down. So I'll explain a little bit of that and say how systems have gone cellular. And I'll say the biggest problem recently is because of the car break-ins, people are just pulling out the internet lines and then their cameras don't record. And I'll say the cameras record if someone pulls the internet line, and that's the problem that we're solving, that we're updating. The reason that I do that is the main objections you get right away is they want to have you give them a card, say, "I'm not interested," or they'll feel like you're trying to sell them on something and they'll say, "I'm not interested." And if I'm just explaining to them what's going on, I avoid objections, right? I don't know if anybody can think of an objection to give to me. Somebody give me an objection to what I just explained. Like, hey, well, we're doing something, we're updating your neighbors, and our industry is going through a change, so we're having to do something a little different. And then I'll explain it to them.
Yeah. Do you have a card I could get from you? I just don't have a whole lot of time right now.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. So you're gonna hear, and that's one of the ones you're gonna get is cards right away. And I'll say, hey, we have rep card. I'll leave that with you. But I'll be real quick as we're doing the updates. The reason I wanted your house to stop by your house is your neighbor said that you're one of the newer move-ins, or I'll know something about them. And you'll get rid of the card objection if they feel like you came to them specifically. So how you can avoid that. So Dan, if I knocked on your house again and I said, hey, we're updating some of your neighbors in the neighborhood, what I'll say is, Robbie, you probably know Robbie. He's the guy, he was served in Vietnam. He's a guy with one leg. Super, super awesome guy. His daughter lives across the street there with him, and he's collects guns. You probably know Robbie. That's an actual sale. Derek, you're laughing, but I'm just thinking of an actual person I saw. So if you talk to somebody, you just want to explain one of their neighbors, and they will not and say they said I stopped by because they sent me by. You'll get rid of the card if that happens. What's another objection, guys? Get right away. If you build credibility and talk about their neighbors, you'll get rid of the card objection. What's another one that we're getting right at the start?
My husband's not here.
Okay, it's a good one. It's a good one. So there's two different ways to take my husband's not here. Jansen sitting next to me. If the husband's not here, he'll say, hey, when does he get back? What does he drive? I'll be back when when he's home. Right. So that's one way to go about it.
Unless he's gone for like a week, then I'll try to get him on the phone.
Yeah. Then the next way is how I overcome the spouse objection is if I do a good enough job, I have them help me solve the spouse objection. So there is two types of objections. One that you can overcome before they come up, which is about every objection from I have a gun, I have a dog, give me a card, I'm busy, I'm in a safe neighborhood. All of those, there's a way to overcome them before they come up. The spouse objection, you literally cannot overcome before it comes up, right? Like you can't just say, like with it being a safe neighborhood, you can get the person to say, how long have you lived here? And they'll be like, oh, 10 years. Oh, so you've seen the neighborhood change a little bit over time. And really, since all the houses were built back in the 80s, all the originals have moved out and a lot of younger families are moved in. There's more rentals. And we've had a little bit of crime, mostly.
I don't mean to interrupt, but when you mean objection, you mean like an obstacle? You're referring to obstacle?
So I'm just referring. Yeah, it's something that gets in your way. So the same thing when I was explaining objections that you'll tell yourself, like you're going to tell yourself, I don't know if I can sell this person. There's hardly ever a sale that just seems like it's conventional. It just goes smooth. There's always an obstacle, right? There's always something that gets in the way. And as you get good at overcoming the obstacles, you'll become a good sales guy, right?
Okay.
So, and some of them are legit, like, hey, we are heading to a birthday party right now. Like, hey, I'll be real quick. This will just take 5 minutes. And if everything comes back as okay, I can flag you as a home that we're working with, and blah, blah, blah. You'll end up
So the way around, so the way around a birthday party, I ain't mean to interrupt you. So the way around a birthday party situation, like, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but the good way I'll combat that is like, okay, here's my business card. Just reach out to me. Wouldn't that be a good way to, get around it?
Yeah, the better way though, because they're not going to reach back to you.
Okay.
If I get a hold of anybody, I just have 3 rules. One is they have to give me their name, their phone number, and a time and an appointment time, right? So, and And I'll set probably 3 appointments for the same time. Hey, you have the birthday parties at 5:30 to 7:30. You'll be back at 8. I'll swing back at 8. But I usually have probably 2 other appointments at 8. And I'm either going to my one appointment if I only have one, or I'm sending 3 texts. I'm on my way, on my way, on my way. And people will text me, hey, I'm busy. We're actually not home yet. And one will say, we're home. And I'll go to the one that says we're home. Sometimes, though, I'll text someone and say they're on their way, and I'll put my phone in my pocket, and I'll show up and knock on their door. And when I leave, I'll have sold them and look at my phone, and they'll say, we decided not to do it. And so you can still sign people up. And I'm like, oh, crap, they text me to not come, and I didn't look back at my phone. But that's just saying, but if you do it right and you pitch them, and if you text all 3 and someone says they're home, you're more likely to sign them up if you go back by. But if you give them a card, they're not going to get back a hold of you, right? So
yeah. I got you.
Yeah. But other
Hey, I got a
obstacles-
question.
Yeah.
So say like you set the call back later, right? And then when you go back to the call back later, they hit you with the, oh, like we decided not to do it. Like they said this instead of texting it. How would you move it to get around that?
Yeah.
Or you went to the sale process.
Yeah. So the thing is, when you set that time to come back, the rule you want to do is
Sean.
not drop price. And you can go say, Brad, but what I do is they usually will say they decided not to do it if they know how much it costs. If you haven't told them how much this cost,
What are they saying no to?
yeah, what are they saying no to? What were you going to say, Brad?
Yeah, most of the time when people are saying, hey, come back later, that's their nice way of saying they're not interested. So my best years, I would never go back ever if they didn't make the decision right then. You know, you'll get the random person, let's set an appointment and come back. You're just wasting your time. If you have the husband and the wife there and you pitch them, have them make the decision right then.
Exactly.
I mean,
Because
this
if not, you're just
wasn't
setting
more so for,
appointments all day.
this wasn't more so for me. This is more so like I had went out with a rookie, like he was shadowing me, and then like he went and knocked on his own, and then he said like when I went back with him to his appointment, that's what they said. I don't know like what he left them with or anything like that. That's just like how the conversation ended. Like when we came and showed back to the house again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that you can do. The only time it'd really come back is if they're like one spouse isn't there and you set a time to come back, or they're on their way out and saying, hey, come back, but we're literally leaving. What Brad said is true. There's going to be people that don't know how to say no, and you'll learn that. And you just need to get it done then, and just make sure you don't waste your time going back to those. Jackson, I see your hand.
Yeah, I was just gonna say on that what Brad said, that I realize, especially for the rookies, like it's never a good time to get an alarm, and it's never a good time to listen to the guy knocking on their door. So yeah, just be careful that you're not too
Soft.
willing to come back later. Yeah, too soft. Yeah, it'll never be a good time. I will always be coming home from work, or I will be home for 2 hours from work and I'll be settled in, or I'll be cooking dinner, or I'll be resting after eating dinner, etc. So it'll never be a good time. But yeah, like Sean said, I'll only come back if it's because the husband's not home and she can't call the husband. That's the only time I'll personally set a return appointment. It's for those.
Mike.
Excuse
go
me.
ahead.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna
adding on-
ask. I was gonna ask Sean and Brad. You give that advice to rookies a lot of the times, and a lot of times it's really they don't have the finesse. Like they'll say, "Oh, can you come back later?" No, we can't. We have to do it right now. And it's like sometimes it just kind of puts a bit of buying resistance up. So how do you know the difference between, hey, I need to just like build more value, and then once you get to the point where you're through with your process, what are the word tracks that you say that get you to make the customer make the decision right there?
Okay. I'll just go through my process on that real quick. So if you do a good job at talking about like breaking preoccupation, getting them to talk to you and like you, that's the first thing that you need to do to win. because they're going to not be trying to get rid of you, right? Generally, when you start, Mike, to answer your question, I tell guys, you are going to sell your nice people. Your goal is to get to where you sign up the mean people, the people that don't want you there, right? How do you do that? My training that I do with the guys to do that is ethos, pathos, logos. The guys who have sold for a long time are probably sick of hearing that like those words from me. But I just need to make great logical sense to somebody, which is just making sure that what I'm explaining to them, I get their head nodding, right? So because if you get to the point where they're trying to get rid of you, it is hard to overcome it. And that's one of the things that I want to emphasize the most, is the best thing you can do to overcome an objection is to learn all the objections you'll ever get and to know what you need to do to not get them, right? Because once, it's just, and it's as simple as like, we're here in Arizona, and like if I go into, I don't know who's in the same, Seahawks are in the same, if I'm a Arizona Cardinals fan, like if I don't want to fight everybody in Seattle, if I'm there, I should not wear a big Seahawks or a big Arizona Cardinals hat. If I like the Cardinals, I should just wear a hat with a red football on it. Can still support my team, but I'm not as confronting them. So you need to avoid maybe that's not a good example, but the objections that you get, every one of them, like, go away. You can overcome that by doing a good job before it. So I don't want to focus. We've done a lot of trainings on overcoming objections. I just want to train on how to do the job well, and the objections will kind of go away. So the first thing that you can do is have a good logical pitch that they'll listen to. And if you do that, they'll agree with you and shake their head, right? So my goal within 30 seconds is to get them to shake their head up and down, right? So if I'm talking about their neighbor who served in Vietnam with one leg, and I'll say the reason he's helping us is, well, he's been here for a while. He had his truck broken into, and he likes ADT. But I'm just talking to them about their neighbor and their neighborhood. And I'll say some things you've noticed ever since your neighborhood's 50 years old now. There's more rentals in it than there used to be, and you've seen the neighborhood change. And I've get their head to shake up and down to say we've had more calls. It's historically not been as many calls in your neighborhood. If I'm explaining to some things they agree with, they're not going to have me say, can you come back later, right? If they say, hey, can you come back later, Mike, I don't want to be saying, no, I can't come back later. I'm just going to say, I'll be real quick. My job is just to get to a point where I can show you something to look it over. And if it looks good to you, then we'll flag you as a home we're working with. And then I'm just going to say, let's work to that point, and then I'll get out of your hair. Right. I think Gerald raised his hand. Sorry if you still have that question.
Yeah, I was just asking, like, I'm a little, I got a little brain fog right now because I'm driving and trying to pay attention to multitask. But I was trying to add on to what Jackson was saying earlier. Biggest thing about sales, what I'm starting to get from it, I don't got experience, but what I'm getting from it, like learning from Riley, learning from Dino, watching them, like, sales is like psychology, man. It's like psychology, studying body language, studying how it feels like, or selling what the customer needs, or even not necessarily code switching, but talking the customer's language.
For sure. Yeah. I would say the best thing you can do is get to understand people and understand. I did my degree in college with psychology. I feel like there was some help to it, and you'll get to understand what people are thinking. And a lot of the times in sales, when you've done it for a while, when you ask them if they have any more questions, they'll be like, to be honest, every question I had, you would answer it as soon as I had it. And you get to where the sale is, and there's only a few different types of people. There's only a few different types of objections. And you usually have about the same things going through people's head. So lots of times in the cell, I'll say the next thing people usually ask is this. And they'll be like, oh yeah, that is, I wasn't going to ask that, but that is a good thing to ask. And I'll usually overcome objections by saying, this is what you should ask next. This is probably what your questions are. This is what people at this point usually ask. So
I can add something real quick.
yeah,
Sean was just mentioning like figuring out the objections that you're gonna run into throughout the process. That's the great part about the job is every day, every door you knock is going to be a different interaction with somebody, and you can learn from that interaction and take what you learned from that interaction, whether it went good or bad, and take it to the next door. Because once you continue to do the job, that's when you're able to develop all of these tools in your toolbox to overcome an objection. Like Sean at this point, he talks about he doesn't overcome or he doesn't have objections because before they have the opportunity to bring up an objection, he's beating them to it. But if somebody does bring up an objection before Sean, you know, Sean's not batting an eye. He knows exactly what to say in that moment. And that's the awesome part is like, as you learn these objections.
So basically saying it's kind of like a push and pull factor going on when you trying to sell to
Hey, Jarrell, let's let them talk.
Okay, I got you.
Thank you.
No, you're good though. But yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. Like as you continue to learn what you're doing in the job, then every interaction with any person that you're ever going to talk to is going to be different. And you can take the things that you learned from something that you had in the past and apply it to something that you'll come up with. And then you'll see the progression throughout the process.
Yeah, and my commitment that the ultimate point that I want to get to is when you guys start doing the job and the guys that are going on preseasons now, my advice is to write down every objection that you get and practice on how to overcome them before they come up. So if I have you'll run into somebody else just like them. So I just knocked on an older person's door. They're always home. They're like retired, and obviously they're home because it's a preseason and it's 2 o'clock in the day. So I need to know how I know that the objection's going to come up. I'm always home. Why would I need an alarm? Like, we're always here. And so I need to be able to build value around a system that they'll want because they're always home, right? So that's why with somebody I like say that I'll get them to agree with me, shake their head, and they'll like me. And they're not trying to push me away. And next thing I say, the first thing that we'll do on a home, and I make it seem like exactly them. We're looking exactly for you because that'll get rid of some objections. And then the first thing that we'll do on your home is life safety. With homes that were built in the 80s, because a lot of the wiring is old enough in the home and is still aluminum and might have not been updated all to copper, we get some electrical fires. So the number one killer that we have when people are home at night is not carbon monoxide, it's actually smoke inhalation. I've usually by this time asked how old their smoke detectors are. Since your smoke detectors are now 20 years old and they expire at 10 years old, this needs to be done in your house anyway. And it'll be the number one thing that saves you in your home. The next thing, since you've been here for so long, you're not getting any younger, and I'll talk about life safety first, right? So their objection about being always home goes away because the first thing I talk about is why they want it when they're home, right? And so and then the next thing I know that I'm going to get from that person is a fixed income, because people that are always home don't have a job. And so they're on a fixed income. And the best thing about this is we make it possible for anybody on any fixed income, because we don't ask you to pay a dime up front to have it done. It fits on your fixed income. So I know by talking to somebody within the first couple minutes, because I've talked to somebody like that before, what their objections are going to be. But if you don't pay attention, you're just going to keep getting the same objections over and over from the same type of people. And if you're doing that redundant fighting objections, you're not going to reach your potential in the job. So stop being redundant, letting people object to you in the same way. If you run into this type of person and they give you this type of objections, there's not that many types of people, maybe 20, probably less. Like we could start at 5. But there's not that many objections. And if you get an objection from this type of person, you're going to run into somebody like that within the next few hours. And all you need to do is practice overcoming the objection before it comes up. And that's the point I want to get to. The reason I'm not good at training on overcoming objections is because subconsciously, when I talk to somebody, my pitch isn't the same every time. My pitch is catered to the person, because that type of person's, and it's not for the person, it's for me to not have to overcome their objections, because when they voice an objection, it's 10 times stronger than than it's not voiced, right? And so for having an alarm system in the home, everybody wants it. Everybody wants to have cameras. Everybody's fine with having their a safety in their home. The convenience, we need to be good at selling the convenience, because the convenience of it overcomes a lot of people's objections on alarms. How easy it is to use, getting notifications or kids come, working through the smartphone. You don't have to punch in the code. It's very, very easy to use. That's going to be another big one that people in their mind won't say, is they don't want the inconvenience. You have to talk about convenience, and then they won't in their mind being saying, this is going to be an inconvenience to me. And so once those are all overcome, like, you just need to take note of the objections you get, which most of them are smoke screens to get rid of you, is what the point I want to make, is because if you melt away all their smoke screens, which is just trying to get rid of you, they're going to be totally fine with having a system in their home, right? But you have to be able to build value for them to see why to do it. And that's what's the most fun, exciting part of the job, is when people try to push you away, and then you get them to shake their head, and then they end up buying. So anything you guys want to add to that?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I got a lot of like, I have guns, I have dogs. What would you do to get past that?
Okay, that's a certain type of person. How do you know they're going to say they have dogs? What's the first thing that runs in the door? There's a dog. So yeah. So the dog's going to run up. He's not a killer.
Subaru. They got a Subaru in the driveway.
Yeah. You can tell types of people from their cars. You really can. Yeah. You're just like, hey, this person. If you've sold someone with a Subaru, you can sell another person with a Subaru.
But you're bringing that objection first.
Oh, he's not a killer, is he? And everyone's like, oh, he wouldn't harm anybody. And so you just have to beat it to them. And the other thing is, you're going to sign up people because they love their dogs. What do we call them? Fur babies, right? A lot of people treat their dogs like their children, right? So another thing, these guys Trey, you lead with cameras.
Yeah,
Mostly.
I end with them.
And with them, start with them in. Okay. So I'm the same. I figure that most objections that they're coming, the reason they're saying I have dogs is because you talked about the alarm system, right? So the first thing that I do is I sell them on a program and get them to listen before I start talking about the alarm. And I actually don't even say alarm system. I don't even say ADT. I help them. Benji, you have something to say?
No,
okay.
Keep going. You're fine.
So if they feel like you're trying to sell them an alarm system, they're going to combat, right? Which by saying, I have guns, I have dogs, I'm okay, right? So if you're getting that objection, you're still your customer's in front of you, and you're facing them and in a conversation that you're trying to win and they're trying to win. So what you can do, and the first transition you want to do, is to be side by side and get moving in the same direction. The reason you want them to shake their head and agree with you is because you get moving in the same direction, because a person will follow you through the cell. So you actually have to get them moving in the same direction as you. And as soon as you get in the flow, and you'll feel it when it happens, they're going to not confront you, right? And so you probably won't be getting this objection about dogs and guns if you already have had them shake their heads up and down, yes, 5 to 10 times, and I'm standing next to them talking about their neighborhood, and I haven't even talked about the alarm system yet. But by the time I transition the alarm system, I already talked about their dogs, that they're not killers, and If they're a younger person, I will have guns come up sometimes before I bring them up, but they are I'd say they're the second most targeted things that are stolen from homes. And so we want to make sure those are protected. And if they're being mean to me about it, I'll say, and the last thing you want to do is let a stranger know you have guns in your house, because they'll come and get them. And so
thanks for telling me.
Thanks for telling me. So, but you won't get those objections if you're in the flow. Why? Which is, I'm saying, don't sell the alarm system until you've sold them on what is going on in their neighborhood and area, and they agree with you, and you transition to a conversation that's confrontational to working together in the same direction.
I was going to say, especially for first years, if you feel like you're running into a specific objection like over and over again, there's usually something you're saying or a lack of that's causing that. And so I always, especially my first year, would have a note section where I would take notes during the day of something I was struggling with or noticing. And if I could identify what I was saying that was causing that, and if I wasn't, then at the end of the day, I'm getting in my car group and I'm asking my car group driver, hey, this is what I'm running into. And he's usually going to ask, hey, what are you saying? And I tell him, and he breaks it down with me. So I would say utilize your car group driver, your manager, ask them after the doors, take notes. And then in the end, as far as objections go, you just can't give them power, right? So everyone needs to know the difference between like a true objection and a smokescreen. And you need to treat every objection like it's just a smokescreen, because they haven't heard you out. And so you just need to continue on. You can use whatever method, like the AIM method, acknowledge, ignore, move on, make them feel like you heard them, but continue on with where you're going, right? Just don't give it power, and treat it like a smokescreen and not an actual true objection.
Most guns and dogs are a smokescreen, because most people that have an alarm have dogs and have a gun.
You tell me gun,
right?
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, it's like guns are great, right? And you're moving on. So it will be, all objections will be as big of a deal as you make it. So if they give you that objection and they can see that it rattles you and you make a big deal out of it, they're going to feel like it was a valid objection. But if it's just like, of course you have guns. Guns are great. So reason that we're here is, and you're going on with your pitch.
You don't want to
make a big.
You don't want to argue with.
Yeah. If you go back and forth and you're arguing on why you still need to have an alarm, they're going to argue back. If it's not a big deal, won't be a big deal to them, and you can proceed.
Yeah.
Also, I would just say that really there's no good objection, like other than maybe a spouse, but like all objections you can easily overcome. I mean, not easily, obviously you got to figure this out. And a lot of you guys are like, yo, this is the first meeting I've ever been on. Like, what the freak are we even talking about? Like, what are we selling, right? Like, so just hold on. We'll get to that later in other meetings. But I think this is an important topic to bring up, because sales is hard. And the main reason is because a lot of people don't like salesmen, right? And that's what we are. So their main goal as soon as we knock on their doors, let me get this guy off my property. And so then they throw out all these objections like what we're sharing, right? It's like, view yourself when you're at the mall and some guy's trying to shine your shoes and you're like, oh, no, bro, you're good. So yeah, they're fine. They're clean. They're clearly super dirty, right? It's just, we just don't like salesmen. For some reason, it's just like embedded in us. And so I think the biggest takeaway is, if you can try to almost appear as if you aren't a salesman, and also by bringing up objections before they can, you'll do very well in this job. And the question is like, well, how can I not be viewed as a salesman? Like, obviously that's what I'm doing, but there's ways, and we'll obviously train on the pitch and how to not appear as a salesman. A lot has to do with your body language and, the way that your tonality and stuff. And we'll dive into that in other trainings. But yeah, like I said, there's really no good objection. Like, you know, I have dogs. It's like, dude, that's literally your kid. Like, I mean, yeah, like we want to keep it.
We have kids.
But the thing is, like, if they give you an objection to every single objection, you can just say, no, that's exactly why I'm here. Like someone says, oh, we already have an alarm. We have cameras. No, that's exactly why I'm here. We're actually not allowed to do this for someone that doesn't have this. Oh, you guys have, yeah, guns. Right on, man. Like you'd be crazy not to have a gun out here in the world we live in today. That's why I'm here. Like that phrase, that's exactly why I'm here, man. Like validate them, whatever, move on. So, yeah.
I was gonna say big one really helpful thing with objections too is if you get hit with at least for me, when I get hit with an objection, my next goal is to move them like physically too. So I want to move them mentally and then move them physically, because if they're standing in a spot and hit me with an objection, I feel like they're more likely to hit me with another one. But when I can get them to move, it just automatically gets them to stop thinking about the objection they just gave me, right? So I'm transitioning to the garage to talk about the camera looking over the garage or the backyard or moving over to the shade, whatever the case is. So that's just another random tip for moving on after you briefly acknowledge and ignore their smoke screen.
That's the best thing about what we sell is there's nobody that we're knocking a door on that isn't somebody that we can apply it to. You know, everybody that has a house, unless they fail credit, right? And so, but everybody that we knock on, even the people that we fail credit on, we can still sell. There's no true reason to not do it. The spouse one is one that if you get, and whoever asked about the guns and dogs, the first time you get, there's actually really something that's fun about getting an objection for the first time and then leaving this house and getting a sell. Like Brad, your objection, if you're saying, hey, if this husband and spouse are there and if they don't do it now, I'm not coming back, right? And so you've probably had a time where someone said, hey, my husband's sick in the bed and can't come out and talk to you. And you said, that's fine. And you got the sell anyway, because you're like, I'm doing this regardless. And you remember those people because they were like, oh man, I can't believe I got that done. And you ended up talking to the sick husband in bed and explaining it to him and getting it done and never meeting him, right? But you told yourself, get it done.
Yeah, and it's just realizing what Trey said, where it's like, it's not that they have guns and they think that they don't need an alarm because they have a gun. You realize after doing it for a little while, it's not that. It's that they were watching Judge Judy. You knocked on the door, you interrupted their day. They want to get back to their TV show. And after you get through that a few times, you're like, okay, it's not that. And so it gives you the confidence to acknowledge it, move on, keep going. And then you're like, wait, that actually worked. And then you do it again. But when you first start, everything they say, you take literal and you're like, oh,
yeah,
well, he had guns. And you get in the car and, you know, your manager's like, what are you doing? Let's go back, you know? So you learn pretty quickly, but you learn from doing that, like leaving and being like, oh my gosh. And then you watch your manager do it and you're like, oh, wow, he had guns too. And he still got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You'll end up signing somebody up and you're in their back room going over their gun collection with them. And they were like a Marine and they're currently a police officer and like the most legit person. And they want an alarm because they know when they're gone that they want their house safe. And they also see the crazy things that happen. My uncle that's a judge, he's like, I need an alarm because when I sit in that courtroom, there's some crazy people that want to come find me later. Same with police officers. Same with people with guns. There's some benefits to it. So, that's the thing and we did jump into this week one, I'm like, hey, we're just going to jump right into the meat and potatoes and spend a minute talking about what it is we really do, which is, I really liked what we said earlier, is just overcoming obstacles and you become really good at it. But a lot of them you end up not seeing. Like really the one rock you have to learn to climb over is the spousal objection, but guns, dogs, busy, all the other kind of stuff, you just walk right through them. You don't listen to them, you know? And I say as a salesperson, you need to learn to be really friendly, but not too nice. And that just means people like good salespeople that are friendly, laughable, good, you know, trust, you know, and it makes sense. So Brad, you have something to say? Not, I'll keep going.
I would, yeah, no, all of that is awesome. I think the aim is great. Acknowledge, ignore, move on. Realizing that most objections are fake. The one thing I would add is as you're practicing your pitch, it has to make sense of why you're doing it. The biggest, I wouldn't even say objection, but I want to think it over. Or can you come back next week? Can you give me a day? So from the very beginning, starting your pitch with some scarcity of why you're there. Hey, we have technicians out here today. We're installing 3 systems today. In your town, we're putting in 47 alarms today. To where you're making it make sense, to where later as you're closing them, it's not like, hey, can you come back? From the beginning, you made it make sense. Hey, we're installing it today. The reason you're getting free setup, free connection, free install today is because we have a technician down at Miss Becky's house. As soon as he's done there, he's coming here to the next house. And it takes a little bit of the pressure out of the sale because there's a reason you're there, if that makes sense.
Yep. You got to create the urgency because people won't ask you to come back in a month if you're like, hey, there's something going on now that we're doing, and it creates the urgency. And right from the beginning, when you knock on the door, that's what I do is like, hey, we have 6 techs in the area. We're doing an update and why we're doing it because of this change, because of this and the advertising. There's 3 that we're doing in the neighborhood, or on your street, we're doing 2 homes at the beginning. Your neighbor that's the veteran with the one leg, he's helping us with the same thing. He said, you're super nice. He sent me by. He said to joke with you about your old car that you started on fire the other night or whatever. And they'll like, right, they'll like you, right? If you can get to know the neighborhood really well. That is all of those things. And if you guys can really pay attention to the people who have done it a long time, when they're pitching or explaining you why they do things, my best things that I say is I'm accomplishing 3 different things I want to accomplish in one time of saying things. So when I'm explaining like, hey, we want to make your home, like right when I talk to them, to where your neighbors see you checking on cameras, getting texts when kids get home, monitoring your house, or just using the system at the house, you can give an honest opinion. And I'll tell them that right away. I haven't told them that I want them to feel that I'm building value in their house. But what I'm really explaining is advertising. We want to make their home to help us advertise. And I'm accomplishing 2 things. I'm explaining word of mouth advertising and building value on what the system does. And a rookie will listen to me say, maybe that's just a phrase that came to mind, something I say. But I'm accomplishing, there's a reason I say the things that I say when I say them. And just pay attention to those because they build urgency and cause people to sign up. So I want to spend the last couple minutes that we have and just talk about what the job can do for you. We're going to do these trainings every Thursday. I'm going to assign out to each of these guys, the managers, to train on little chunks of the sale. And you guys will learn how to go from not to believing you can do it, getting in a neighborhood, telling yourself you love the neighborhood, believing that there's at least 20 cells in there and that you're not leaving that neighborhood until you go get them, and that you know how to get from the beginning of the cell to the end. You might not be good at it, but we're going to get you to where you know the process. But I wanted to talk just a second about what the job can do for you. There's not another opportunity that you can as to put together a talent that makes you money as quick and as fast, unless you hit some sort of button that then comes back as jackpot. Like, oh, I just hit the jackpot at Vegas, right? So this is an opportunity where if you've been used to getting paid hourly, you can go make exactly what you're worth. I remember the first people I signed up, and I was in their house for half an hour and walked out. At that time, we had to collect a voided check, so I actually had their check with it, and I knew I just made $500 in that half an hour. I was like, holy cow, I can't believe that I just made what I would have made in a week. And if you can get to where you can replicate that, it can give you a huge head start to your life. And so I know Trey just bought his first. How long have you owned your house now? Really nice house, has two Airbnbs in it.
Yeah, had it for like 7 months.
7 months.
So
just turned 24.
Yeah.
On it.
Seriously.
You're buying another rental property, Jansen, fourplex.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you own a bunch of rental properties now. You're 23, 24,
23.
23. Jet has a bunch of money sitting in his bank account. He's trying to So I remember, if you guys can just find what burns inside that you want to accomplish in your life, because you're going to ask yourself, do I really need to do this? And you could answer no. Like, I don't need, I could go and work an hourly job and survive. But let's all really tell ourselves we want to thrive and not survive, right? Because you don't need to. But the fact is if you go and sacrifice and put in the effort, then years and years down the road from getting a head start, you're going to be mentally stronger, financially stronger, and you're going to be not good at just overcoming obstacles in a cell, but in your life, it translates 100%. So whatever is can fuel you. I remember thinking I don't want to get broke when I was married, but I remember thinking how much pain my parents went through for 30 years to pay off the house. And I told myself, what if I could pay off my first house in a few years? What if I could avoid all that pain? And my brother jumped on the same thing with me. My brother said, hey, I want to be a school teacher, but I can't afford that. And so he did the job for 5 years, was able to pay off his cars, his house that he still lives in, and is a school teacher. And he has set himself up, right? So what gets you excited? I want to get rid of my debt. I want to pay off a car. I want to buy my dream car. I want to have $10,000 in the stock market. And I want, there's just things that will cause you to thrive later in life and thrive now. And it's that energy that you can find, that why that'll get you there. And that what makes the sacrifice of leaving home, traveling somewhere, and working hard worth it. And it is worth it. Like I talk to guys like, hey, there's some people I know do summer sales, and I think they probably oversold it. Like, I don't think I really believe that they do what they say they do, which there is some of that. There's some people that like over exaggerate what they actually did, but we have a lot of guys on this call that have set themselves up for their future. And there's a lot of guys not on this call that did the job 10 years ago that are living a different life today because when they were 20 or 18, sacrificed and went and got themselves a head start. My brother being one of them. And so we just want you guys to think about that. Come to next meeting, what I want to get in the next at the end of this year, where do I want to be and how can this job get me there? So any other thoughts? We will try to wrap these up in less than an hour. So we're time's up, but any other things from you guys?
No, I'm just stoked that you guys are all on here for real. It just shows me that you guys are all willing to take that bet on yourself, that risk, which is awesome. It's the beginning of a new year. I know we all have big goals, and this, I can promise you, is the perfect place to be. Like, we sell such an incredible product, like a product that provides such great peace of mind, and representing wonderful companies, Google and ADT. Like, seriously, you guys are in a very unique and blessed place. Seriously, and the people that you're with right now, like your managers, your offices, they're full of amazing people. So learn from them. And seriously, this could be like the opportunity that just changes everything for you. And I say that because it's done it for me. So it's cool to see you guys on here today, taking those first steps.
I was gonna say, keep prioritizing the trainings, because there's guys on here like Cole and Mike Jackson, like guys that have been doing this job for years and they're still hopping on these trainings, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're first year or second or more, like there's always good takeaways from these trainings. So prioritize them if you can, especially before the summer starts, and it will set you ahead than the guy that thought he was too cool for it and, didn't show up until the summertime.
And for any of those that have not done a blitz or this is their first interaction with the job, like I know because I felt this way that it can feel a little bit daunting or like, holy crap, in a couple of months, I'm going to be leaving home for 4 or 5 or 6 straight months. And I don't really know what I'm getting myself into. Like, trust the process because it works. It's been tried and tested and it freaking works. And it's seriously everything that's been said. It's going to set you up for the rest of your life if you take it seriously. So don't lose hope, trust the process, and it's all going to work out. So
Good testimony was there.
Amen.
Amen. Okay. Thanks you guys for dropping on. Dan, did you have
I too know what my brother has said is true.
Amen.
Got you, Trey.
Yeah.
Do we need
Dan, can you say the closing prayer for us?
Yeah.
I felt that.
Yeah, dude.
Hey,
That was a moment right there.
It's called ethos, pathos, and logos. Dude.
Yeah.
I get that
Heck
emotion involved, you know?
Yeah, get the emotion going. Everyone's
Dude, trust me, I get it. I love it too.
Hey, what I want to know is how was the golf course today?
It's good.
It was amazing.
Hated to see us coming, honestly.
People thought we were good, better than we.
When we finished, they said those guys in front of us, they looked good, but they were not good.
2 groups passed us.
3.
3? Man.
No, we had a big group. That's why.
Yeah, you're right. No, not at all.
Brad's
But,
pretty good at golf.
What'd you say?
No,
Brad
I'm
is
not-
great at golf. We were betting on him left and right to hit the water.
When we went golfing, the best part about when we went golfing, the guy's like telling us about the freaking course, dude. And he's like, so what you're gonna want to do there on the second hole, there he's just going on, dude, some language we don't even know what the fetch he's talking
That
about.
course you guys went to looked like a freaking water park.
it was
Yeah,
awesome. Our
it
only
was
takeaway was he was like
It's where they
on hole
spent all their time,
17.
probably.
Yeah, he was like on hole 17. There's free bison dogs and candy and chips. By hole like 9, we were like, let's just skip them. Let's get to hole 17.
Where's this hut with this food?
Where's this food?
Let's go straight to 17 now.
Yeah.
It's good times. So
All right. Night, guys.
Yeah, thanks
See you guys. Thanks for jumping on.
thanks,
Yeah.
guys.